Hi guys, so things are getting critical again in and around Grindavik. And it's controversial again, like we have seen in the past two eruptions. It's on the one hand, they're letting people back into the danger zones, and on the other hand, they're announcing it's imminent. The next eruption is imminent. So why are they doing this? I just don't get it. So listen to this. Today, they have been 1,000 people in the town of Grindavik to go in there and get their belongings with about 400 cars. So people have to reserve time slots ahead of time. They have to go through checkpoints. The rescue teams are inside the town, and should some residents need assistance, the rescue team is there, and they're saying they will assist, and people are in there in the homes. They're getting their belongings out. And at the same time, we are hearing that the land rise underneath the Swartsengi area, there's the Swartsengi power plant and the Blue Lagoon, that land rise is slowing down like it did before the last eruption. And there's also signs that the magma chamber has filled up to a real big extent again. We'll talk about this right now because they have completely miscalculated that earlier in the morning. So many people in Grindavik. Imagine 400 cars, like 1,000 people. The day before, it has been 1,200 people, and they're saying that's the largest number they had back in town since everything at once, or in scheduled slots since the eruption has begun. So I don't think this is a good idea. I mean, they're saying, yeah, it was successful to bring the residents into the town, and they did this from two directions, from the road like Nesvegi and Sudurstrandavegi. So that were the main roads where people were allowed to come in and out. So they're quite happy with the system that they're now using because it's scheduled. The first responders have now an overview of the people who are and were within the town's limits. And so there are many applications that are available to assist the residents of Grindavik, and that is good, because before the last eruptions they said you can go back in town, you can spend the nights there, but you are on your own. So there were no rescue teams present in the town. So this is different now, and this is good, but still they're saying this time the eruption could happen with little to no warning, less warning than we had on January 14th. And I didn't see any warning. I watched it live. I saw the earthquake cluster forming, and still no warning at that time, right? So the danger for the people in Grindavik is not the eruption itself. Well, if it suddenly erupts too, but usually there's an earthquake swarm that happens before that, but that can open cracks, that can damage roads, that can damage critical infrastructure that you need to evacuate the people. And that's why I think it's not a good idea. The Blue Lagoon is also still open. And guys, it's always, they open it up, then we had an eruption. They open it up, we had an eruption. But now things are even different, because before the last two eruptions, they were really saying they think there's no chance that it would erupt in or underneath Swartsengi. They considered that very low. But now they said it could also erupt inside Swartsengi, and that's inside the Blue Lagoon if you are very unlucky, and if you're sitting in that hot tub. And we have seen in the past how quickly these eruptions start. You're cooked right away, so you have no chance to get out. So this is why I'm always a little bit, in a way that I have to say, this gives me a sour feeling that they're so worried about their tourist income. I get it. It's one of Iceland's most important income or source of income. But if some tourists get hurt, wouldn't that hurt the whole tourist industry as a whole? Why can't you say, dear tourists, better be safe than sorry. We're closing the Blue Lagoon until the eruption has started and is over. And in the meantime, we divert you to one of the other tourist attractions. There are other thermal pools that are in safer areas. So why do you have to take the chance? This is what I don't understand, and this is what gives me the feeling these tourists are a commodity. So I think they should really change that, because it's really, when you look at these newspaper headlines, 1,000 residents are in town, and then the other headline, the land rise at Swartsengi is slowing down and therefore there is a significant chance of an eruption. So, you know what I mean? I think this is crazy. So it is slowing down, and that is always a sign that that magma chamber that is underneath the Swartsengi area is reaching its elasticity limits. And once that has reached the limit, it needs to burst somewhere, meaning the lava inside the magma needs to flow somewhere. But it could also come out directly underneath Swartsengi. They don't think it's likely. They think it's going to be along that magma tunnel that has formed on November 10th. Still more in the Hagafell area, but they can't say that 100%. The experts are saying basically volcanoes are unpredictable and they do what they want, so they can only guess and estimate. So since midnight, there have been 30 smaller earthquakes along the magma tunnel that has formed on November 10th. So this could be an indication that there is something flowing already, but they're saying they were smaller in size, but it could also be like a mismeasurement because there's stormy weather again. There's wind, there's storm, and we know that this affects the seismic instruments that have been placed by the Met Office and by other scientists all over the place around Grindavik and the Swartsengi area. So these shakings, these 38 earthquakes, they're more than the day before, but the reason for that could be the storm. So the bad weather increases the risk that there might not be much warning of an eruption because they don't know if they should take these earthquake swarms seriously or not. But something else has happened, and they have seen a 2.9 earthquake on the Reykjanes Ridge. So that's where the two tectonic plates move away from each other. And if they're moving away from each other, they're really opening a graben sort of thing that you can also see when you're in Iceland. You can see a picture here. So usually what happens is then some ground is lifting up underneath there. I'll show you the location of this earthquake here, and 2.9 is quite significant if you compare it to what's normally happened. It's like smaller seismic earthquakes, swarms, and it was recorded at Reykjanes at about 7 o'clock this evening. And what is considerable is that this earthquake is the largest of the earthquake series that has started in the region since everything has woken up. But also it is not certain whether this earthquake is connected to the magma corridor that's on the Reykjanes Peninsula. But if it is, we know that magma tunnel that has formed on November 10th is reaching into the sea. So it's rumbling. And we've seen the last few weeks, we've seen earthquakes at Reykjavik's doorstep, the capital area, in the tourist attraction, the ski area, Bluffjell. We had like Barrabunga having larger earthquakes, Grimsvatn. So it's rumbling everywhere. Everything is getting active or waking up, so to speak. So they have been talking about even lava flow threats to the city of Reykjavik. And if you see these 6 volcanic systems, the Krysuvik system and the Brennisteinsfjall system, they are the ones that could threaten the capital area. So they're thinking already that they might need to build defense walls like they did in Swartsengi and Grindavik in the near future. And speaking of the defense wall, they are now saying they did some flow estimates, and if the defense wall in Grindavik had not been there, the lava would have flown further into town, and had the eruption lasted longer, even more lava would have flown into Grindavik. And which path would the lava have taken? And that would have been the road, the main road that leads out of Grindavik to the north towards Mount Thorbjörn and the Swartsengi area. The name of the road is Grindavíkurvegur. So it would have flown through that road into the town, and because there is a slope, a natural slope, so it would have sloped towards the town. And of course, the town lies right by the sea, so it's always the land is always coming down, right? It would have even flown further west of the road. So the engineer that was also part of building that defense wall says this was a great success, so to speak. But they pointed out, with these defense walls, they're not trying to stop the lava. You cannot stop the lava, but they're trying to divert it around Grindavik. Of course, they had no chance when part of the January 14th eruption, part of the northern fissure erupted inside the protection wall, and then the southern fissure was basically right in Grindavik, destroying 3 homes. So had that lasted longer, there would have been a lot of destruction already. So they're trying to still keeping up with the defense walls. They have not reached the height that they would like them to be. They said this might take maybe till spring, because they're building them in stages. Like they're finish one area, then they make it higher, then they make it higher. They're sort of finished in the Swartsengi area. But again, if the eruption happens within these defense walls where the Blue Lagoon and the power plant is, then they have lost critical infrastructure. So it's a big problem, and it is a big concern. So now they're thinking it will erupt further north of Grindavik than the last eruption that we have seen on January 14th, but they can't tell. It caught them by surprise that the last eruption was so close and in Grindavik. They also said at this time it's going to be in the Hagafell area. And the problem is, this time they're saying they might not be able to give any warning, or very, very little, because we already have these magma tunnels, the 15-kilometer long intrusion that formed on November 10th, and then all these fissures and tunnels that are leading south and north. So if there is enough pressure in the magma chamber and the magma needs to flow somewhere else, it already has tunnels ready where it could flow. So it will flow more smoothly, guys, and more undetected. Because imagine if you're a miner and you already have the tunnels ready and you go in there and you hack the minerals out. This doesn't cause that much disturbance. But if you have to build a new tunnel, you need explosives and machines, so it's rumbling more. And it's the same with that magma. If it needs to form a new tunnel, it needs to push its way through and break up the rocks and everything. So we see larger earthquakes and more earthquakes. Like on November 14th, there was a huge cluster of earthquakes. And this time, it might flow more undetected into the existing areas. It could always hit a roadblock like a clogged pipe, and then it could come up in that area when the pressure builds up. But it's not really great right now. So very, very little warning, plus the bad weather again. So they're saying it could happen at any time, but they're pretty sure that it will happen this week. And another thing is, this morning they said, well, the land rise is slowing down, so that's a sign that the magma chamber is reaching the limit. And they estimated the amount of magma in the chamber would be around 6.5 million cubic meters. But they have corrected these data just a few hours later, and that's why it's so concerning, and that's why it could happen so quickly. They're now thinking that it's around 9 million cubic meters. So when the last eruption happened, their estimation was that there was about between 9 to 13 million cubic meters in the magma chamber, and then it erupted. So are we on the lower end here with the 9 million? Are they correct with that estimate? We don't know, but they're quite sure that something will happen this week. And we already have Monday, guys. So really, it can happen at any time. And when I see these news, 1,000 people back in town, we know how quickly things can happen and exit ways can be clogged or disturbed. I don't like it. Let me know in the comments, guys, what you think about that. So guys, this was another update. There's more news that I want to talk to you about, but I'll release this in a second video that is probably coming out today as well. So stay tuned for that. And I thank you so much for the support that you're giving my channel. You guys are absolutely awesome. So thank you so much for the supers that you're sending me here in the comments. And thank you so much for the coffees that you keep buying me on buymeacoffee.com to support my farm and the animals. And speaking of buymeacoffee.com, if you want to go to my site and have a look at the maps that I'm using here so that you have more time to look at them, I have a section with posts. It's completely free. You can look at them. So go to buymeacoffee.com/silky and then to the post section, and maybe also follow me on that page so that you can receive emails with the latest updates so that we can stay in touch. That would absolutely be awesome, guys. And I guess we will have to monitor very, very closely what is going on, and I'll keep you updated for sure. I'll watch the live feeds like an eagle, and if something happens, I'll shoot it out right away, as always, guys. So thank you so much for watching. Stay safe wherever you are, and check out the 2 videos in the end screen in the meantime. Thank you so much, guys. Bye bye.